Welcome to today's episode of Gen 5 Rustomods. Today we're going to do part 2 of the ICTbillet LT1 power steering pump conversion. This includes their bracket here and this new belt. So I chose to go and use the ICT instead of the All-American billet that was covered in part 1. If you haven't seen part 1, check it out. So this is what I would say the best bang for the buck, because it's only $200 for this bracket, about another $100 to $200 for your power steering pump. The power steering pump is an LS3. You can search for it for like a 2012 Camaro LS3. I get a lot of stuff out of Rock Auto. You can get it on eBay, Amazon, anywhere you want. I like them with the included reservoir. This makes it a lot easier than doing a remote one. There's a lot of adapter and fittings, and it's cleaner. And if you can, get the pulley with it, because the pulleys run about 40 bucks. And make sure that you have a good power steering pump pulley puller. Power steering pump pulley puller. And don't get one from Harbor Freight. Get a good one. This happens to be a gear wrench, because you put a lot of pressure on this pulley to push it on the shaft. So you do need this 915 K6, which is a 91.5 inch belt, and these adapters here. I'm going to go over here and show you the little detail. Okay, so this is your belt tensioner here. Pretty simple, allows you to take the belt on and off. And as I mentioned before, this is a takeout. I like buying the takeouts because you don't have to buy all this stuff. And in this particular case, this is a 2016 LT1. In 2017, they encrypted the transmission. You got to send it in HB tuners, and it's very expensive if you want to mess around with your transmission. I run the 8L90. So this one was only 20,000 miles on it. It's a 2016, so I decided to buy this one. It was a good price. It's still 10,000 bucks, but it's a lot of money, but you get a lot of engine. It's about half price than buying a Connect and Cruise model. So these are the fittings. So this is a metric fitting to AN. This is what I call my jump to hyperspace. So this is a 15.75, I think it's 16 millimeter with an O-ring. And the way that it works is that the O-ring, this particular piece, I'll show you here how it goes in, but it stops down, and then the actual pressure is sealed by this O-ring. So I use these for adapting. You can go to, if you do rack and pinion, so this is a standard AN6 fitting here. So you go from metric to AN. And in this particular case, this happens to be an SAE fitting, conventional power steering pump, a power steering gear from like a Chevelle or a Camaro, an inverse flare fitting that goes into the power steering gear, and then you make your jump to AN, and then you have your standard hose fittings for your AN. So that allows you to go from SAE to metric. So that's a really cool portion of it. Here's another example, and I'll show you how it fits, of a Type 2 power steering pump adapter. It adapts differently. Comes out of the back, and I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, so here is the adapter. I think this is Russell, I'm not sure. And the reason why they build them like this is because if it doesn't have this extra extension on here, it gets too close to the pulley, and a lot of times they'll bang in there. So they make this GM, the factory GM one, is the hose itself looks like this, but doesn't have any AN stuff. So this is their solution. I don't think they're 25 bucks or so. It's kind of pricey, but it fits in there like that. Okay, here's your AN, and you can go, if you're going to be rack and pinion, or you're going to go to your conventional steering gear. Here's the other one, which is actually what they call a banjo fitting, and it does the same thing. It fits up in here. You can see how close it gets. and then it goes up over here, depending upon where your reservoir is. If you have a remote reservoir, it's pointing in the wrong direction. Sometimes the pulleys they're reversed and they go upside down, so it mounts up like this and goes down. So this is an extra one that I have, but it shows the same thing. This works completely different. It doesn't have a rubber O-ring. It just have kind of crush washers here on, and it just same thing. It's 15.75. Okay, that wraps up part 2 of the ICTbillet power steering pump for the LT1. If you have any other questions about Gen 5, L83, L86, LT1, LT4, go to my website, automobileman.com, and I have a Gen 5 installation guide that's been revised for, it's actually over 5 years old now, and it's free to download. It's a PDF, and it gives you 25, I don't know, 28 pages, something like that, of all these kinds of things that are on my videos, but in a written form. So automobileman.com, Gen 5 Restomods. See ya.